Hi, we're Chris and Melissa Dyer. We are the owners and broker of Ebstone Realty, and we have our 2025 real estate market predictions to share with you today.
So great. I know that one of the things that we wanted to start off with is every time we go to a party gathering, there's a big talk trigger. And that lead question that people ask is, what are interest rates doing? That seems to be the biggest talk trigger around real estate. So Chris, I know that we had hoped rates would be lower by now. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what your predictions are for 2025? Where do you see mortgage rates going this year?
So interest rates are critical not only to the real estate market, but the overall economy as well. Housing gurus, economists have been believing for the last 2 years that by this point in time, we would be in that mid 5 to upper 5% range. And obviously we're not. We're hovering around 7% plus or minus. I think at this point, in looking at projections of these housing gurus and economists, there are some people who are overly optimistic and some people who are pessimistic about where rates will be. I'm forecasting that we will be somewhere in that 6.5% range, where I think that inflation will hopefully come down, which will help that, and jobs as well, which are both two key indicators about interest rate. First prediction would be 6.5%.
I've noticed, and it's been quite noticeable, that since the early 2020s, we don't have houses flying off the market like we once did. They seem to be on the market. There's more choice on the market. So tell me a little bit about why they're not flying off the market anymore. And then also, what are the contributing factors? Like, what is actually going on in the market with inventory?
Great question. So inventory will be a driver. We talked about interest rates, and rates are a main driver. If rates come down, we'll see more activity. And inventory, our prediction, to jump to the prediction part, we expect inventory to continue to rise throughout 2025. Inventory has been on the rise since a post-COVID world. During COVID, we had quite a shortage of inventory. In 2024, we saw inventory on a steady increase month over month throughout the entire year. To break out the market segments, with condos and townhomes being one market and single families being another, condos and townhomes inventory rose 47% year over year.
That's a lot.
And to give you further context on that, that inventory equates to almost 9 months worth of inventory for the market to absorb, which is truly a buyer's market. On the flip side, with single families saw a 27% increase year over year, which is still under six months worth of inventory. We're at about 5.1 months worth of inventory. So technically, we're still in a seller's market for single families with that. So overall, inventory will continue to rise. And as inventory is rising, one piece of advice we're giving our clients is that they need smart pricing. They need to be wise in how they price. They don't want to overprice themselves and sit on the market longer than needed. And if the home price is not compelling, their house is not selling.
Okay, that's a good word there. So we know that house values have increased. We know that rates are not that like super discounted rate that made housing entry more affordable. And I know that the age bracket that we're in, we have young adult children, and our peers are saying we're a little bit concerned about how are our kids going to afford to get into the housing market with the status quo. However, there is a very interesting trend of who was actually in the markets, as we are aware that first-time home buyers create that kind of that market surge underbelly. That's how you get the ball rolling. If they can get in, then everybody can be in a move up situation. But we saw something really interesting statistically. So tell me, like, who is buying? What's going on with that demographic?
Let me give you some numbers to put some context around this. So the median home buyer age was 49 years old in 2023. This past year in 2024, that bumped up to 56 years old.
Wow.
That is an all-time high. The median first-time home buyer age went from 35 years old in 2023 to 38 years old last year, right? First-time home buyers, which typically make up about 33% of our market, so a third of all transactions are first-time home buyers, dropped to 24%. So we're seeing first-time home buyers there are more barriers preventing them from getting into the marketplace. I actually saw a statistic that showed people who have owned homes in the last 3 years and how they have increased their wealth 10, 20 fold compared to people who have been renting and how their wealth hasn't changed. They've almost regressed due to inflation.
Okay.
So these are important things. So our prediction for 2025 of who is going to be buying, those people will be older and those people will be richer. And obviously about 76% of them are going to already own a home. And if they already own a home, they've already been building wealth through real estate. So something that we are passionate about, again, because we have young adult children, is that we want to help them get into buying real estate and be looking at programs and opportunities for them to buy. So this is super important. So older and richer are going to be people who are transacting in 2025.
All right. That's really interesting statistic there. And I know that we just recently toured a large new home community. And one of the things that I noticed as we were looking at all the models is that there was a very interesting dynamic going on with the floor plan that they were doing. And I know that we've talked about this. And again, this kind of piggybacks on your previous comment about the first-time home buyers, who's buying, what's going on. Tell me a little bit about the very interesting niche solution that's going on to what kind of type of housing, what is the demographic of the purchaser that we're seeing something unique that we really haven't seen, I think, in our generation of being in real estate.
This is something that we've talked about in the past, and I think the data is supporting the way that we see the marketplace with this, and that is generational housing. Multi-generational housing has become a significant trend that I think builders are now in line with, where I think some builders got on this bandwagon early, and now I think all builders are looking at this now. And I think in the resale community, people should be paying attention. 17% of all transactions this past year were multi-generational purchases, meaning that you have more than one generation living under one roof. And obviously all inventory doesn't fit that. But if you're thinking, hey, I'm a first-time home buyer, my parents may be in a position where they need to downsize, maybe there's an opportunity to get together and get a multi-generational property. That could be through buying a house with a casita. Casita is a detached house on the property. It could be 2 master bedrooms on the property, or a bedroom on the main floor and a bedroom upstairs. So this is a segment that I think bears paying attention to. It is a growing segment, and it's certainly a way for first-time home buyers to enter the marketplace and be a win for both generations.
That's great. I know that it seems like there was a previous trend that seemed like multi-generational housing, I think, is something that we maybe conceived that was something that could have previously been popular. But now it's more of everybody's living in their own unit, but with a disadvantage for first-time home buyers having the amount of money to enter the market. Then you have the segment of the market that they are older and wealthier, and maybe they would potentially downsize. So it sounds like they can power up and find a product that's going to suit both spectrums of the family longer term. Almost like the kids get to live in the big house when they have kids, and then the grandparents move in the small area. I don't know. We'll see how that goes down, but that's a really interesting thing that we really haven't seen in the last 25, 30 years when we've been in the business.
If we were doing that with our kids, we would be in the main house. They would be in the little house.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully. Okay. All right. I know you love this term, and I know you want to educate on this term and talk about it. So let's hear about market velocity. I know you like that term. So why don't you unpack that and tell us what that means and why does it matter?
Market velocity just sounds cool, but it's simply just activity in the marketplace between buyers and sellers.
Okay.
So a healthy market has to have activity taking place. You can't have all sellers and no buyers, and you can't have all buyers and no sellers. You need transactions taking place, and therefore that is market velocity. So buyers and sellers who are transacting. The problem we've had in COVID, we had a lot of velocity in the marketplace. 2020, 2021, 2022, but then we started to lose velocity after that. And I think we can look back now at the data and say that the last 2 years we were extremely low. 2023, I think we had, this is in the resale world, we had over 4 million, 4.06 million people in that buying and selling space. And then this past year, we were even lower than that. So I think the overall concern that economists have and that people have is, are we going to continue to trend lower than that this year?
Okay.
And my prediction is that we're not. I think we've seen the bottom. I think the trough has occurred and we're going to start ticking back up. I don't think it'll be a dramatic thing where we're going to have this enormous velocity spike, but we will see more activity taking place. I think what has kept people from transacting has been the lock-in effect. The numbers show that 60% of the marketplace who have a mortgage below 4%. So obviously in a market where you have 7% rates, people who are holding on to that 4% and they do not want to move, even though they may need to move or have a strong desire to move, or they want to take that new job or whatever that may be, they're just feeling like they can't because financially it's not gonna be a good decision.
So if I could just unpack that just a little bit more. They own a house, they have some equity in the house, but prices have appreciated. So as they've appreciated, the next thing they need to jump to has appreciated. And if they have a mortgage interest rate at 4% and the new rate is going to be at 7%, basically it makes the gap too much. It's not like a lateral financial move for them to trade in equity for appreciated cost of acquisition. And you have that difference and it's like, my mortgage payment's going to be too high. I'm just not going to make it.
Just sounds better. It sounds better when you say it. But yeah, pretty much that's it. So yeah, that's exactly right. But there's still events that cause people to buy and sell, right?
Sometimes you just have to.
Having children, marriage. So that's household formation and families enlarging. You get a job out of the area, so you need to sell.
Right.
You have unfortunate things like divorce and death. So those are things that happen and take place that it doesn't matter what rates are. And I think we're going to see more of that, where some of that pent up, like I have to make a decision now, is starting to occur. And downsizing, people who are in that baby boomer range, people who have a lot of equity, people who maybe are not getting a mortgage. Again, a substantial amount of the marketplace in Palm Beach County, actually 50% of transactions in Palm Beach County were cash transactions. So those people are not sensitive to mortgage rates changing, going up or down. We believe those people are going to be in 2025 transacting. And again, with more inventory choices, there'll be more reasons for them to take action.
Got it. Okay. All right. So it sounds like the predictions are interest rates are going to be mid-sixes.
Mid-sixes would be the prediction on rates. Prediction number two would be we're going to see more inventory for buyers. That trend's going to continue both in condos and single families. Buyers
are going to be older and richer.
Buyers are going to be older and richer, hopefully wiser. Those are the people, 76% of them are going to already own a home.
Okay.
The first-time home market is going to probably not expand this year. The transactions will mostly be getting done by people who are older and richer. Yes.
Okay. We're going to see a trend in multi-generational housing. That's going to be maybe a new segment. It's an emerging segment of the market.
It's an emerging segment, but it's been emerging for a while. I think it's now getting front and center attention.
17%. That's a decent percentage.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. That's definitely growing in popularity. And then the market activity, you said with market velocity, that velocity is going to be on the uptick.
We're going to see more activity, right? We're going to see more velocity in the marketplace, and therefore more transactions. So overall, nationally, as well as locally here, we're going to see more activity in the marketplace. And it may not happen first quarter, but we believe overall, when we look back on 2025, that we will see more activity taking place than in the previous 2 years.
Okay, so it sounds like 2025 is going to be a pretty good year.
It'll be better than last year. It'll be better than last year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.